and welcome back to the show. Today I feel very fortunate to sit not only with one of my favorite, but a favorite for a whole generation, Seamus Blake. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Born in London, 1970, grew up in Vancouver, Canada. Started to play violin first. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your upbringing?
Well, I was raised in Canada, and I started playing violin. It was my first musical instrument. And I heard Bach the first time, solo partitas, and I thought, oh yeah, I'd like to do that, you know. And then, I started playing saxophone maybe around age 16 or 15 or 16, and I fell in love with jazz. You know, a mixture of hearing some Cannonball Adderley records and Coltrane, and by the time I was 17 or so, I was hooked.
So how was the music scene in Vancouver at this time?
It was actually there's a lot of good musicians that come from there. I used to go out and hear some live gigs. There's a couple of fellows like Phil Dwyer, Campbell Riga, Hugh Fraser. There were some great musicians, Ross Taggart. So there's kind of a thriving scene, a lot of quite good musicians, and there were some places to play. And so I'd go out and hear them, and I'd ask them for lessons and things like that, and try to learn from them. But I felt lucky that there was a bit of a scene there. Yeah.
Well, I think in search of a bigger city, you moved to Boston a little bit after that to study at Berkeley.
Yeah.
And I think they had a few lucky years. We met a few guys from the 70s that went there, and 80s to have George Garçon and all that group, Joe Lovano. But you also went on a fantastic year together with people like Kurt Rosenwinkel, Scott Kinsey. How did those years form you?
They were great. I remember, I would say the very beginning of like the first couple of years, maybe like 1989, 1990, were really amazing years, just with the level of the students, you know. I learned a lot from playing a lot with them, you know. So lots of jam sessions, lots of just playing all the time. And absorbing things from all the other players. I mean, I remember Mark Turner was there, Chris Cheek was there, Joshua Redman was not at Berkeley but in Boston and was hanging out. Jorge Rossi, the drummer from Brad Meldau, Kurt, Jeff Keezer, Roy Hargrove, lots of people. So it was a good time. Yeah.
And I know a lot of those, let's say Scott Kinsey, continues to work with.
Yeah.
So you moved to New York around 92, and a little bit later you also won the Thelonious Monk competition, and I know that you were hired pretty much straight away coming to New York.
Well, I was lucky enough to meet Victor Lewis, his drummer, and he asked me to play on his record, I think while I was still in college. But so I moved to New York, and I had a little bit of some connections, you know. But it was a slow process of meeting people and just playing with people, and one musician leads to another musician leads to another, you know. So I started playing sessions and like just kind of like no money, just playing in somebody's living room, you know, that kind of thing in New York. I did a lot of that, and gradually just meeting people, I think one opportunity tends to lead to another opportunity if you do a good job.
Right, and also of course being a member of Mingus Big Band.
Yeah.
And they're meeting other people like Alexei Pyazhin, David Kikowski that you've been working with a lot.
Yeah.
Bands with him, including Opus 5, I suppose. So, what inspires you? You've been playing for a long time, and still to go to the saxophone and to explore compositions and.
What inspires me? I mean, you know, I have a big range of music inspires me. You know, I get inspiration from classical music, from rock music, from Brazilian music, and of course jazz too. I still love jazz, and I think it's I try to keep an open attitude. I like different kinds of jazz. I like everything from, you know, Ornette Coleman to, you know, like Coleman Hawkins or something. So, you know, there's a lot of music out there, and there's a lot to be inspired by, I think, if you keep an open mind.
Right. Well, I mean, we already mentioned some heavyweights like Victor Lewis, and you've been working with Schofield in the Quiet Band, and you've been having a lot of different constellations, working with Brad Melda, for instance. I know that all of them were important for you, but if you go back and look at some special band or constellation that meant a little extra for you, which one would that be?
Oh, gee, that's hard to pick and choose, because they're all important. Maybe I think playing in Victor's quintet in the very beginning was important, because it was really my first taste of working with like kind of a legend and like a musician of such a high caliber, and also somebody so so well formed, you know, such an individual, you know, the way he writes and plays and that, maybe playing with Schofield was great, because it was a great international exposure, and getting to tour the world, and playing with somebody that you idolized. You know, I idolized him as a kid, and I still do. But you know, just being around him and that was a really great experience. And playing, the band was so great. Bill Stewart and, you know, Kevin Hayes and those guys. So throughout the years, maybe a band that I co-led with Chris Cheek. And the Bloom Daddies, that was a great experience, a fun experience, kind of like rebellious rock and roll, my rebellious rock and roll years. It's great that I still continue to like be involved in projects. This band is really great. I love playing with Antonio, and I feel fortunate to get to play good music with good people.
Well, you're still fairly young, and you've been doing so much. Where is Seamus Blake 10 years from now?
Oh wow, I don't know. I'm probably going to be doing much of the same thing. You know, I'm trying to make records and trying to tour a little bit. Maybe I might slow down on the touring one day. I'm not sure, you know, but I definitely I have a new record coming out on Gonzalo Rubalcaba's label, called Five Passions is his label, and I'm excited to have a new record out, and it's a more ambitious project with some woodwinds and strings and different kind of configurations. Couldn't have made a record like that maybe 10 years ago, because, you know, the various companies that I was working for, you know, maybe it wasn't within their budget or something to do a record like that. So I feel lucky that I can you know, anything that I want to try I can do. You know?
But you've been doing more than 6 CDs, I think, on your own name on Crisscross label, starting in '93.
Yeah, I haven't counted them all, but yeah, there's something like that on Crisscross. I did make some CDs for other labels too. I made a live record for an Italian label. I made a record for the Smalls label, Smalls Live label. I also made a record for a Spanish label called Fresh Sound. So.
Well, do you have some advice to the other musicians out there? You know how it is to be out there in the woods and to practice, and just some fatherly advice in terms of practice or professionalism in music.
Well, I think it's good to. I think it's important to be. Of course, not only is it's important to be a great musician, and part of that means it's important to know all the history, but also to sound like yourself. Yeah, and that that takes years of just doing it and not being afraid of trying something different, you know, and blending your influences in a. It's kind of like making a soup, slowly cooking and mixing the different ingredients, you know. So yeah, and I think it's important to you know, you have to work hard, obviously. And also it's important to be like a dependable person, you know, like just a good somebody who you can always count on, you know. It's important to be humble and to show up on time.
That sounds great. Seamus, it's been a big pleasure to have you,
you,
and we're looking forward to follow you for many years to come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.